Hello, Stephen Long here, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Gaston's Great podcast. This week's episode is part 2 of a 2-part recording in an effort to keep each episode a little shorter. If you've not heard part 1 from last week, I would encourage you to go back and listen to that part first. Thanks again, and we hope you enjoy it. Anything else, 3-5 years down the road, any other plans, or we want to serve and expand how we serve and what we can provide the community? Is there anything else?
Right. Well, one of the I think once we get this, what we're looking at is how do we become? We want to become the distributor for Gaston County. So what we're wanting to do once we get this built, then now we can go to Second Harvest and say, okay, a lot of our agencies here in Gaston County, to get to Charlotte, they don't have the box truck, they don't have the van, they don't have a 26-foot reefer truck, but they got a church van with 15 passenger van. So what if you bring it to us and let them come and get it from us instead of them have to come all the way to Charlotte and get it? That we believe that would help many other agencies locally in where they want, kind of help them alleviate that, because a lot of them going in cars and trucks and things like that. But we want to be able to set up that where we can be the distributor for them, because at one time, I don't know if you remember, up in Dallas, there was a distribution center there,
right,
from Second Harvest, and they closed it down. Well, we want to get that.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
so we can expand to that capacity, that not only we have ours, but we can help other agencies locally. And then you look at it, we do something west, north, south, east, Gastonia, and cover those areas. So we working with Contegra on some of that, and meeting with some other agencies.
Okay. I
meet with them, because they want to kind of know, tell us what can we do, what are you doing that's working, that's helping, and I share with them, but a lot of it is just, I'll just be honest with you, Steve, I'm not a genius. It just, before I had a church, I had a vision that this was what I was going to be doing.
Okay.
And that's just, it is what it is.
There you go.
Yeah.
What about from your perspective, or the board's perspective? Is y'all having to reel Rodney in with all these plans?
Rodney's been great to work with. He's a visionary. He's got the vision, and so we kind of work with his vision. And I basically, I came on the board, and I really didn't I knew what we were doing, but I didn't know where we were going. And so talking with him and spending a lot of time with him, I kind of figured out where we were going. And so once we had that, I said, okay, this is where we're going. So let's try to get there. How are we going to get there? So one of the things I've been really trying to work on is getting us financially in a good situation. So one of the things we talked about right off the bat was, I looked and said, we don't really have much in the way of grants. We're doing really well in terms of getting money from donors, but we
Gotcha.
haven't really done the grant thing. So we started looking at writing grants. So, we talked to the community foundation. So this year we applied to the community foundation. They've been wonderful. Nina, Lauren Vanacore, they've been really great to work with there. For just send off application for them. First Gaston Fund as well. We got approved from Glenn Foundation for some money, which was
nice.
a big deal.
Sure it is.
Food Line has just been, I can't even say enough about Food Line. I have to give them some serious
That's
rep
good
here.
to hear.
They have been by far, they just been so supportive, volunteers, money, food, you name it. They're really involved in the community. And so, and we have a lot of other little, grants here and there. We have some stuff sent out, but we're starting now to get some bigger money with those grants on top of what we're doing before to add into what we're doing. So we're slowly starting to do that. And that takes a little bit of time to kind of get what is our message, what are we doing, where are we going, and all that. So it took a little bit, but now we've got our message where we want to be. And that was really sitting down with Rodney and saying, okay, what is our message, tweaking it, getting it right. And so now we kind of know where we're going. And it's going to be a lot easier for us going forward the next couple of years now that we have that, in terms of applying for a lot of this stuff. So our next step is getting our social media. And that's our next thing. And so we're going to start really getting ourselves out there. And I think, for our age group, Not quite the younger people.
That's one of our professionals is right over here.
We'll call ourselves the pre-computer age people. We didn't grow up with computers in our households, and we had the one phone on the wall with the 85-foot extension cord on it, that you had to share with your parents.
Reminds you know what my parents gave me for high school graduation?
What's that?
A typewriter.
That's classic. That is classic.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah, that's a classic.
I used it.
Yeah, we had the floppy disk, which I found one in a box in my attic. I was like, I guess I don't need this anymore. So we were like, boy, we need to get into the real social media. So that's our next step is social media, that presence that we can now get, because a lot of people are like, hey, I want to donate money, but we don't. They're not going to drive up there and bring a check to us. So we need to start getting into that, that arena of, getting out there to letting people know who we are.
Yeah.
And then once, they know who we are, if, they want to, give to this purpose, then now we can go there, because that can help us advance what we're doing.
All right. So, before we shift gears, which I'm going to force Rodney to answer some different questions this time, and Mark, you're going to get the classic questions that we ask. But is anything I haven't asked, anything you want to make sure our listeners hear? I mean, before we finish, we'll make sure they know where to find you guys, where to find information, when this happens, all that kind of stuff, what the current needs are, if there's any specific. But anything I haven't asked that I should have asked before we temporarily shift gears?
I think we've covered.
All right. So Rodney's already familiar with this, and if you've listened to any episodes, Mark, you are unfortunately familiar with this as well. But I make our guests endure these Gaston County personal related questions, because this is actually all those 3,000 families driving through. This is what they really want to know about y'all.
I've been warned
the
by
board,
my wife,
your friends, your family.
Okay.
And so we're going to have almost 2 sets of questions each time, because I'm not going to allow you to answer the same questions again, Rodney.
Okay.
So and we're going to call this the West Gastonia speed round of questions. Okay. All right. So luckily though, Mark, I'll get to start with you. So what is your favorite Tony's ice cream flavor?
Chocolate milkshake.
Gosh, that's me and you, brother. We got that one. I'm just that boring regular old chocolate guy, but man, those things are good. All right. Rodney, favorite movie?
Oh man, 5 Heartbeat.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you there.
Love it.
Sundrop or Cheerwine, Mark?
I'm a dentist, okay? I've seen all the rotting.
We don't care on Gaston's Great podcast.
But if I had to choose between the two, I would go with Cheerwine.
So that's job security. When
now everybody else can drink it, but I don't drink it.
Rodney, most recent movie or show or something you've streamed, you or your family have streamed online? Any show?
Man, I'm not a big streamer, man. I tell you, I need to get on it.
Well, no, not necessarily. Actually, that's probably good for you, but I'm just.
But you know what? I watch every single day. This is going to be bad. My wife going to probably kill me for saying that. I love to watch. I watch it constantly all day long. Divorce Court.
That is a crazy show. It's so crazy. It's so crazy.
Is that so you're learning not what to do?
Not what to do.
What not to do, excuse me.
I was like, why do you watch that? I was like, I just love to hear these stories. These people. I'm like, how did they do that?
It probably makes you feel better about your own life.
I think it's basically wrestling for law. I don't think those are real true stories. I think they're made up.
Wow. So, Mark, favorite local restaurant?
Oh gosh, favorite local restaurant. Web Street. That's what it was at Web Street. Okay, I don't know why it took me 15 minutes to figure.
Web Street or Web Custom Kitchen?
Web Custom Kitchen.
Yeah, Web Street.
Web Street is a great. It's a great school.
Web Custom
In
Kitchen.
fact, we should probably have Web Street School on sometime.
Web Custom Kitchen. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Rodney, favorite memory as a child?
Oh man, my dad. I played Little League Baseball. I was 9 years old, and my dad would always come to my games. The bases loaded. My dad's standing on side the fence, and he says to me, Rod, I say, huh? He said, if you hit a home run, I'll give you $5. And man, every time I think about it, bring tears to my eye. And I hit a home run.
Oh my gosh.
And I come around the base. When I come around the base, standing there, he had them crossed over the fence. He looked at me and said, I knew you could do it.
That's wild. That's
I tell you
great.
what, that was a quick. I mean, that you immediately went to that, didn't you?
Yes,
Didn't
sir.
have to think about
I
it.
didn't have to think about it.
Wow.
At 9 years old, I still remember that, and I still remember hearing his voice say, "I know you could. I knew you could."
That was just a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, that was.
That's a good one. I appreciate that. Because listen, I played baseball through high school, so so many things are associated. In fact, baseball is how I met my wife too. So, so again, I appreciate that connection. So, I forgot there is one question I'm going to repeat. So maybe Rodney has a better answer this time, but I'll start with you, Mark. And I'm afraid I know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. UNC Duke or NC State?
You mean in terms of the rivalry?
It's just a general question.
Okay.
UNC Duke or NC State?
UNC Duke basketball. UNC State football.
All right, so you're going with the rivalry. Okay.
I'm going to go rivalry.
Fair enough.
UNC Duke basketball, it can't be, but UNC State.
It's in general, typally people take that question
Football,
as,
ain't no way. I mean,
of the
UNC
three schools, who do you like the best is how typically
Oh, you know, I
people-
like the best? UNC. That's not even a question. Who do I like the least? NC State.
Dang, Mark. Give me something. All right. Same question, Rodney.
UNC Duke basketball. UNC Duke. I like that basketball. I love that rivalry.
Okay.
I love that. Now, so I hate Duke. And
Hate's a pretty strong word.
I hate them though.
Right,
Duke
okay.
and the Cowboys are right there with me on my hate list. Okay, and then but State, I'm kind of liking State a little bit better. I just don't like the basketball. I think everybody kind of this year in the Final Four when they had that run. I think you know what I'm saying. So that's kind of fresh to me.
We had a once every 50-year run there.
Yeah. So I think, but next year I think I'll be right back with them again. They're not gonna do nothing. So I'm just gonna take Duke, Tar Heels, basketball, football. I don't neither one of them. Just as long as they beat Clemson, I'm good with it.
I did like DJ Burns a lot. He was really cool. He's a hysterical guy. He's funny. He is funny.
He is funny. Mark, what is something very few people know about you?
I can swim now. Which like 3 years ago I couldn't swim worth anything. I could barely get down the pool, and I was like everybody else, like, God, this is like drowning. But
and you have an all-star swim family.
I know. That was the problem.
Wild.
That was the problem. Like, you know. But yeah, I mean, I taught myself to swim. Yeah, and so I used to be a competitive tennis player, and I messed my foot up bad, and had to have surgery on it, and so I couldn't really play anymore. So I said, I'm gonna have to learn how to do something, and so I started swimming.
Yeah, let's support Gaston Aquatics. Oh, by the way, I can't swim. Board.
So yeah, you talk about brutal at in your mid-50s. All of a sudden, like, I'm gonna learn how to swim. Like you try to do.
It is much more difficult as the older you get. I mean, to do something new like that.
That was quite a challenge, but
I did it. Us men don't like doing new things, do we? When we get older.
I did it.
So I'm gonna ask you the same question. I don't remember how you answered that 3 years ago, but what is something very few people know about you?
Oh, this is different this time. I can swim. And so,
and it's because of Gaston Aquatics, isn't it?
Because of Gaston Aquatics. Yeah, exactly. I learned how to swim. I had a fear of water all of my life. Mark comes to me one day, can you swim? No. Would you like to learn?
No.
Yeah. I said yeah. But the thing was, I just didn't know what I was saying. So yeah. So everybody else, my process, the swimming thing, it took me about I was on the 90-day program on blowing bubbles. That's probably the longest program because I was not putting my head under that water. I'm not doing that, and so that's what kind of got me, man. But I learned how to swim, man.
Yeah, well, good for you.
They taught me so.
Yeah, he can swim now. He's
life
good.
changer.
Good.
Mark, what about a book or a blog or article or another podcast or something you might recommend to our listeners?
Book. I would recommend I just finished reading recently, which is a great book. I actually recommend two books, but I'm going to give you one book for right off the bat. Butcher's Crossing. Butcher's Crossing is by John Williams, which is a Western book, in the vein of Cormac McCarthy.
Oh, okay.
If you're a Cormac McCarthy fan, read Butcher's Crossing. It's about the buffalo, sort of the annihilation of the buffalo during the 1800s. Which is a wonderful book. It's kind of written in the style of Cormac McCarthy.
I just read The Road. earlier this year, which is
quite different than that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
More like Blood Meridian and the other, I can't remember like the other name, the Cormac McCarthy. But anyway, very similar in that style. And then the other book I would say is Undaunted Courage, which is the Lewis and Clark expedition. One of the just incredible book. And these guys were 20-ish years old, and they're like, yeah, there's a whole bunch of country out there. We have no idea what it is. And there's a bunch of Native Americans, and we don't know if they're friendly, but hey, why don't you go and check it out?
Yeah, let's start a food pantry. We got 2 people. Who knows what'll happen.
But it's an amazing. These are amazing books, and I would highly recommend anybody to read those.
I appreciate that. I love stuff like the Lewis and Clark, that type of stuff, because
Undaunted Courage is
the stuff that
incredible
people
book,
like that accomplish. You have no concept, right?
It's great. They're like 22, 23 years old, and they're like, Thomas Jefferson is like, we need to figure out what the rest of this country is. And like,
so Steve, what were you doing when you were 22? I was playing Nintendo. they're
I was go checking out the whole entire western part of the country, seeing what was out there.
Rodney, anything you would recommend there?
Oh man, what I just finished up reading is The Moment by Bakari Sellers. Nice. Just looking at that and defining moments in civil rights and I guess moments that his dad was with MLK on a lot of things, and so as a child he had defining moments throughout his journey that he felt like kind of altered the country and his perspective on different things, and so it was good. I just think the brother genius, and I just read that.
Well, good. I appreciate you guys sharing that. I mean, I'm a big reader, so I'm always looking for there's something else to add to my queue that's already too big. Too many books laying around. All right, so I appreciate you guys indulging us on those questions. So we're going to a few more questions, and we'll wrap this episode up. But this is a question I asked you back 3 years ago, Ron. I'm going to ask you again, just in again, this is a podcast about Gaston County or in the surrounding area as well, but about how great it is. But besides Bountiful Blessings and Mount Zion Restoration Church, why would you say Gaston County is such a great place?
I think when I look at Gaston County, by being involved in it right now, I think it's evolving. I think it's changing. I think right now is the perfect time to be a citizen of Gaston County because of the new history that it's writing, and one of the things I love about that is I'm a person where you say don't like I love change, and I do. I love change, and I can see the growth, I can see the change, I can see the difference as to when I came here 21 years ago and where it is right now today. But the thing about it, that what I love about it is, I'll just be honest with you, is that for me to have the impact, I guess, to meeting different people from different walks of life, you had to ask me this 5 years ago. I'd have said, no, that's not going to happen. I wouldn't know a Mark Taylor. I wouldn't know a Stephen Long. I wouldn't, Travis Britton, chief of police, that tension with all those histories there. Who would say that, me, Rodney, would be friends with the chief of police and we go eat lunch on a regular basis? That stuff didn't happen.
Right.
And so I think that's the thing that I love about it is that, everybody always, it's easy to point to one or two negative things, but I think there's so many other positive things in which I choose to look at the positive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I choose to look at that.
Mark, how would you answer that?
I'll piggyback off that and say that one of the things I think is so great about Gaston County is the location. And I've always said this about Gaston County, and I think the one thing that we should really promote about Gaston County is its location, the landscape. We have basically a mountain. We're like a mountain here, that's almost to the mountains, a Crowder Mountain. We have lots of rivers, we have lakes, we have all this, beautiful land here where, you're 3 hours from the beach, you're, an hour and a half from the mountains. I mean, it's, you've got a city in Charlotte, if you like that sort of thing, where you've got, big time football, baseball.
The gateway to Gastonia, Charlotte.
Yeah. You've got an international airport. I mean, really, when you look at Gaston County, I mean, it's in a great location. It's a really fantastic location. The county itself is beautiful. They just got beautiful trees. I mean, everything about it is really, really nice. I mean, from an outdoor person, which I am, I love being outdoors. It is just really, really nice. And,
Absolutely.
you know, my wife and I talk about it all the time, like, you know, we can really never see ourselves anywhere else because I'm like, that's not really that pretty. And that's just not, I don't like, that's not too close to the beach. That's too far from there. You know, it's like it's everything we look at. It's like, I don't know. You know, there's just, it just has everything you want in it.
Absolutely.
You know?
Well, listen, I appreciate that. And I agree. Those are terrific answers. So last question, I'll start with you. This is the question that Rodney's already answered, so I'm going to give him a different one. But Mark, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
I would give myself, do not take French just because the girls look good in the class. Because you're never going to meet a French person. Take Spanish. That's exactly what I would tell myself.
That is definitely a first.
Yes,
because the Gaston's Great podcast for that question.
Yes, and that was a dumbest mistake I ever made in my life. My friend and I, who is one of the smartest people I ever knew, we both were like, those girls look good. I'm going to take French. And
this is obviously before you met Donna.
Oh, quite. Way long time before I met Donna. And we, good. You know, at the time I never thought, well, I'm going to need a foreign language at some point in my life, you know, and I was like, oh, French, whatever, you know. And how many French people have I met in my life? Like one.
Well, don't you? But you married somebody that has some languages she speaks, right? Besides.
Oh yeah, she speaks a couple languages. Yeah. So I mean, like I went to.
Good. So you're golden.
By the time I went to France, which was by the time I could afford to go to France, I'd already forgotten all my French, so it didn't really help me any. So that was worthless, you know. And so yes, kids, remember, all the kids that listen to this podcast.
Which are two. There's two.
Don't take French.
Three,
take Spanish. You'll need Spanish later in life, not French.
Oh, that's good. All right. So I'm not going to let you off the hook with that same question, Rodney, but a little twist on it. So if you could have coffee with one historical figure, who would it be and why?
I know the answer last time on that.
Well, I didn't ask this question. I asked the other one. Yeah, I asked the other one about your 20-year-old self before.
So if I could have a coffee with anybody, man, probably I'd like to sit down and talk with, need to be somebody community-wise. I'd really like to have a conversation with Barack Obama, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And the reason why I'd like to do that, because I guess, the motivation and the aspirations to persevere in the midst of the tension and the weight that he was under. I'd like to know, how did you manage that? What did you do to navigate your life at that time in your life? Because I mean, I look at that, and sometimes it blows my mind because I understand about leadership and I understand the weight, but I cannot imagine the burden or the weight that he had to be the first African American to run the country, and to knowing, man, how did you do that? And, with all the tension and all the, so much people were coming at you and so many things were being said and people questioning, but you stayed the course, finished what you were supposed to do, and you walked away from it.
Well, listen, that could happen. I'm talking about how you might.
I might think so.
Yeah, why not?
How did I do it?
I don't know. Let's find out, though.
He probably listens to the podcast.
Yeah, get him out. We'll get him out. Volunteer at Bountiful Blessings.
That's what I need to do,
yeah, I'm sure Barack Obama's listening to the Gaston's Great podcast.
He was at the DNC and he's not listening to the podcast.
Yeah, I'll send him a link. Him and I are tight there, Rodney.
I like to have a conversation.
Listen, guys, this has really been good. I appreciate again, just sharing a little bit about your. Part of this is, to your point about those kids listening, right? I do want them to hear from people like you, right? And so some of that stuff some of those questions I asked are for them and for myself, frankly. So again, the main point is let's re-engage with Bountiful Blessings. Let's hear what's going on. So where can listeners go to find out more information? Is there any great need at the moment? Volunteer opportunities? Just anything and everything you guys can share.
I'll tell you about the volunteer need, and Dr. Mark can tell you about where you can go. So the volunteer needs, now that school is over, teachers have gone back, students have gone back, and the weather is getting ready to change. you can come on out to Bountiful Blessings. We have help during the summer, but once the fall hit and winter hit, things, people kind of like, a little bit too cold for me. But we still have to give out food. So you can come be a part of that and we'd like to also just encourage you, to be a part of what we're doing. And I don't want people to think it's so much the church, because it's really not the church. It's a whole separate entity. But it's really about, making an impact in the community. And this is the one vehicle in Gastonia that does that, among others. But this is the one that does it and has consistently done it for 21 years. And so I'd like folk, just to be a part. And the thing I would say to you, come see for yourself. Just come see it on Thursday morning. You can come be there about 7:15. We'll line you up with beans, watermelons or something, potatoes or whatever it is you could do. But I just like for you to come and see it, and to see what does the true community look like and what impact we could make when we really do come together.
Well said. Where can listeners go?
We have a website, bountifulblessingsfoodpantry.com. We're in the process, hopefully here in the near future, we're going to update it. We're going to then start adding some social media to the bottom of that. We'll have some ability to donate as well there. Right now, it's just, web page. It doesn't have quite as much stuff as we're going to have on there. We also have a Facebook page for Bountiful Blessings Food Pantry. We're going to update that as well. So some of this stuff is going to be updated here very soon. Okay. So we'll have a little bit more social media presence. But keep an eye out for that. And then we'll be adding some from there, probably Instagram and some other stuff, so you can start following us on there. So just kind of keep an eye out on that webpage, and we'll be updating that as we go along.
Well, guys, this has been good. I appreciate the work you do. Any last words before we close this one out from either one of you?
Thank you, man, for the opportunity of having, and just for those of you that don't know, Stephen Long is the one that got me involved with community. He was the one that came and asked me, would I be a part of the United Way? And I will not forget that. And he said, man, you look like you need to be a part of this. And he got me involved. And can you believe it that this year I serve as the president of the board at the United Way? And it's all because Stephen asked me.
Rodney comes on. They kicked me off. And they said, we finally got somebody that can take care of the United Way.
We got somebody really getting out.
Well, I appreciate that, Rodney. But I've enjoyed working with you on a lot of community stuff. Absolutely. Yeah. Anything, Mark, or covered?
Well, I would just say I'm going to plug GSM. We've worked with GSM for a long time, through my office and through our personal stuff, and we love GSM. We're big GSM fans, and so not because we carpooled with Stephen, even though we did, and we had his kids over at our house, and they were jumping on our trampoline, and they battled each other in trampoline wars. Yeah. But they are a great company, and we've really enjoyed working with them. They've been a pleasure to work with. But one thing to remember is take Spanish, don't take French.
Oh, should I even try to follow that with my normal stuff? So, again, I appreciate that very much. And my book recommendation, I do a thought and quote, and a book recommendation is I actually have two devotionals that I read daily. And one is called The Daily Stoic by a gentleman named Ryan Holiday. For some reason, last few years, part of my association with the leadership group I'm in, the leadership studies we do on Sunday mornings, but I've kind of gotten involved and studied a little bit of Stoicism. And it's an interesting, most people hear that word and think, oh, these old guys just laying around not doing anything. Well, it's completely opposite of that. But it's a daily devotional that I would really highly recommend. Basically just hopefully how to live better. And my quote thought for the week comes from a gentleman named Roy T. Bennett, and he said, "Listen with curiosity, speak with honesty, act with integrity." So I think if we can do those three things consistently, I think that's something that Rodney and Mark do, and that's why Bountiful Blessings is such a great asset to our community, and why these two gentlemen are make our community a better place. So, again. Please take that book recommendation, their book recommendations, and that thought with you this week. So to our listeners, thanks so much for taking the time to listen to today's episode. Please continue to spread the word if you can about the podcast. And please don't hesitate to contact us here at our email address, which is podcast@gastonsgreat.com. We are always looking for suggestions for future podcast topics and guests. You can find the podcast and subscribe at the website, GastonsGreat.com, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And please follow us on all our social media platforms. Thanks again to Rodney and Mark for being our guests today. Gaston's Great is produced and brought to you by Naomi Hunt and Amy Anderson from GSM Services. I'm your host, Stephen Long. Thanks again for hanging out with us, and please keep coming back to hear more reasons why Gaston's great.